This is the risk analysis video. Risk analysis involves a deeper examination than risk assessment and involves examination of individual risks identified during the assessment process. Risk assessment is the overall process of identifying, evaluating, and prioritizing potential risks to the organization. Risk analysis, on the other hand, is a specific component of risk assessment and involves a deeper examination of individual risks. First, let's take a look at qualitative risk analysis. Qualitative risk analysis is a subjective method of assessing risks based on their qualitative characteristics rather than numerical values. It involves evaluating risks based on their likelihood of occurrence, potential impact, and other qualitative factors. Let's first look at a low-risk scenario. We'll use a matrix with probability on one axis and impact on another. We'll start with a low-risk scenario where the probability is an 8, which is a pretty high probability. But the impact is only a 3, meaning the asset is not that important if it's compromised. We compare those two numbers where the row and the column meet and multiply those together to give us a value of 24. With a high-risk scenario, we can use that same matrix. In this situation, we have a probability of only 3, which is a fairly low probability. But the impact is a 10. This is a very important asset, and if that asset is unavailable, it's a major problem. We multiply those numbers together and we get 30 as a value. You can see we can use these numbers to prioritize our risks and then eventually develop mitigations to those risks. Quantitative risk analysis is an approach to assessing risk using numerical values. Quantitative risk analysis uses previously documented hard dollar figures to document and forecast future risk impact. To better understand quantitative risk analysis, you should be familiar with the following terms and acronyms. The first term is single loss expectancy. That represents the expected monetary loss associated with a single occurrence of a specific risk event or potential loss. Next is asset value. Asset value refers to the estimated financial worth or value assigned to the asset within the organization. The asset value is the total cost to provision or restore an asset to full functionality, basically the cost to purchase the asset over again. Next, we have exposure factor. The exposure factor represents the percentage of loss or damage to the asset that would occur if a risk event were to materialize. A single loss expectancy basically is calculated by multiplying the asset value times the exposure factor. For example, let's say we have a building in our complex that has an asset value of $100,000. Last night, a quarter of that building was damaged by fire, creating an exposure factor of 25%. If we want to calculate the single loss expectancy, we multiply the asset value of $100,000 times the exposure factor of 25%, equaling an event loss of $25,000. Some additional terms include annualized loss expectancy. This is a metric used to estimate the expected financial loss from a particular risk over a one-year period. This is based on the specific asset value and the number of times on average the asset fails during that time frame. The number of failures per year is called the annualized rate of occurrence. This is a risk management metric that represents the estimated frequency and probability of a specific risk event occurring within a one-year time frame. The annualized loss expectancy would be calculated by multiplying the single loss expectancy times the annual rate of occurrence. For example, if you had a server that had an asset value of $1,000 and on average it fails 2 times a year, that wouldn't be a very good server. Anyway, the asset value of the server is $1,000. the exposure factor is 100%, being the server is completely down, so the single loss expectancy is $1,000. The annualized loss expectancy is the single loss expectancy of $1,000 times the annualized rate of occurrence, which is 2 times a year, equaling a total cost for the year of $2,000. Now understand, if that same scenario occurred with the server failing only once every 2 years, the equation would be $1,000 times 0.5 or $500. Risk analysis provides valuable insights into individual risks, enabling organizations to make informed decisions on how to manage and address them effectively.